Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you every single week on Bright House Cable Channel 49. And we've been on the air for almost 9 consecutive years with this community affairs show. The show always talks to politicians and brings issues of concern regarding the Hispanic community to the forefront. Again, we are political, we are economic development, but we talk about how it affects mostly the Hispanic community, unless there's an overlap, such as in the mortgage crisis and things of that nature. First, before we get moving, this is the Hispanic Achievers License Plate. The Hispanic Achievers License Plate was voted into law by the Florida State Legislature about 8 or 9 months ago. And this is the first Hispanic license plate in the nation. If a Hispanic wants to get this plate for his car, all you have to do is go down to any one of 360 Department of Motor Vehicle Agency offices, and the plate is available. All the proceeds of this plate go to scholarship grants for minority students throughout the state of Florida. Get the plate, help the community, and exhibit Hispanic pride. Again, it's available now at your DMV. Another little project that we work on, this is the Lawyers Consumer Directory. The Lawyers Consumer Directory can be found in 170 7-Eleven stores throughout the 5 counties of Central Florida. And if you need a lawyer, before you hire a lawyer, get the Consumer Directory. It gives you great tips on foreclosure, on bankruptcy, anything that you want to know about the law and how it affects you. So before you hire a lawyer, pick up this book, and it'll also give you a list of attorneys that you can call, and also it has their resumes. 170 stores, it's absolutely free of charge, by the way. You don't have to pay for this, it's distributed free. Okay? I'm here with my co-host today, Glenda Lolita Chauncey. Lolita, I've always liked your middle name, better than your first name.
Oh, that's sweet.
Okay? But it gives you that little Hispanic connotation, you know?
I guess I need that.
You need that, yeah. So I got a Ramos and you got a Lolita, so yeah.
It works.
So how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Okay, how's the world treating you? And I know you're working in the legal area.
Absolutely. Working still hard, fighting banks, saving families from losing their homes and evictions, and hopefully to avoid more children without having homes. That's my goal.
Okay. What's going on in the foreclosure area? I know that you mentioned that something is coming.
Well, we've got a few things that are happening. As we know, there's a big case called Pino. It's here in Florida. It actually started down in West Palm Beach, Florida. And in the Pino case, it was in regard to robo-signing.
Is Pino the name of a person, or is the Pino stand for something?
Well, Pino, it's become a coined name for a case that has gone up to the federal level. And so Pino is the name of the gentleman who has filed the lawsuit against the lender. It did go up to the federal, to the Supreme Court level, and some of the rulings were in favor of Pino. And let me explain to you in the Pino case that he literally did win a full satisfaction of mortgage because of the illegal foreclosure.
What does it mean he won a full satisfaction of mortgage? To me, that sounds like, hey, he owed a mortgage and they let him off the hook and they paid his mortgage.
Exactly, that's what happened,
really?
Yes, because down in West Palm Beach County, with the proven facts that they could not produce otherwise, that these documents were not fraudulently altered, the bank decided to settle. And the settlement was giving him a full satisfaction of mortgage. And that wasn't enough for the Thomas Ice attorney law firm down in South Florida as well. They felt that there should be some punitive damages. So they decided to go further up into the Supreme Court. And that was to help to set precedent for other families that are going through the same thing, identifying robo-signing, the illegal foreclosure situation. So the good news on that, it has not been totally ruled on the arguments, but on some specific arguments. For example, Ann Pellegrino, the attorney I work alongside with, is able to pull some of that out of that specific court case and now start to use in her state level foreclosure defense. So it's really exciting for us because this is what we needed in order to open up the eyes here in the state of Florida and the state level and these judges to recognize fraud is fraud. You can't just alter documents and say it's okay.
Let's back up a little bit. Number one, we are talking about the banks rushing to foreclosing on homes. Okay, explain what robo-signing is, in case somebody
out there doesn't know. Basically what it is, they were not able to prove a chain of title because we became securitized at some time and place in the subprime market. And the way that usually a title will follow a sale.
About the title of a house?
Title of a house. So that way there's a recording to say it went from one person to the next, to the next, to the next. Well, that chain of title was broken down because there was a system called Mortgage Electronic Registration System called MERS. And you will see this in your court documents. So some families out there that don't know what that is. It was just an electronic way to make sure that there was a proper chain of title and changing of hands. That never happened. As we say, no one was at home pushing a button. So what you have now, in order to foreclose on a property, you must have proof that you have this note and mortgage in your hand. If you don't have it, the law technically says you cannot foreclose.
Now, when you say you, are you talking about the lender or?
The actual lender, the lender.
So the lender has to have the mortgage physically, the papers physically, before they can take legal action to foreclose.
The note and mortgage. There's actually two separate documents.
So where is the hole in the donut here?
Well, the hole in the donut is they don't have it. So what they did...
How is it that they don't have it?
Because that system, that electronic system, was supposed to provide a service to make sure that every time that this securitized mortgage was sold over and over and over again, that it would follow with that next owner. So
and papers would be issued to that person.
Exactly.
And that failed.
And that failed. That became a
So
failure.
what you're basically saying is that banks were foreclosing on people basically based on an email concept that
pretty much, yeah.
They had a mortgage, right? Because it's a little document coming off a computer.
Right, exactly.
It's not a legal certified document, you know, with an affidavit, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
So they get this little email saying the bank owns this property and they're going to foreclose on this owner. But that information is not up to date?
Exactly. And so what they did is they produced, they fraudulently, or they,
tell me.
they produced what they call an assignment of mortgage or an allonge to the note.
Who did this?
Well, actually, believe it or not, if you were to go back in the history 5 years ago, David J. Stern, who was out of Plantation, Florida, was a law firm that foreclosed on 100,000 plus homes in the state of Florida. Finally was shut down because he was the one who designed this so-called back office to have supposedly people physically say, yes, we saw the note and mortgage of this lender, therefore we're going to sign our name to this assignment, which by the way is initials. That is a secret, by the way. When you're looking at that foreclosure paperwork and you see that it's initials, you know you have a robo-signer. But you can Google every single name and something will come up saying that they have been identified as a robo-signer through a deposition. Most of them have had to take depositions.
Okay.
So that will help in their court
case.
So
a robo-signer is actually a living person that initials a document to verify that the document is true.
Correct.
Okay.
So therefore they can move forward to foreclose.
And where was that document, how was that document produced?
It just depends. I mean, some of these people were located in South Carolina, Texas, which was interesting because you'd have a notary that says they're here in Florida, but the people that actually did the initials are in Texas.
Okay.
Well, we all know when you're sitting in front of a notary, and you're asked to sign, you have to be there. Yeah, exactly. And well, how can you do that unless they flew in these people, which I highly doubt. They flew in these specific people to be present in order to do this. So we started seeing that early on in the paperwork. Unfortunately, the judges didn't want to acknowledge it. Now they have no choice but to acknowledge that there is a term called robo-signing. And thanks to the Pino case, thanks to Lynn Seismanak down in West Palm Beach as well, who has actually, as a whistleblower, has earned $18 million from the Attorney General here in the state of Florida because she whistleblowed.
Is she an attorney or just
she is actually is an attorney because this was her own personal property that she went through this heartache. So Lynn Seismanak became pretty much a fighter. She fought back and said, no, this isn't right. And she was not the first to coin robo-signing, but she definitely was the first in court to win, to identify that it was fraudulent.
About how many homes went down in foreclosure as a result of
hundreds and thousands. I mean, David J. Stern's office alone had over 100,000 that he literally took from people. I mean, that's the term to use. He
Well,
stole these homes.
Where are these people taking recourse? I mean, are all of these people doing like a class action lawsuit, or they have no ability to respond?
Yeah.
Or?
The problem with a class action, from my understanding and being in this world for the last 5 years, is that class action suits, you have to almost have an identical situation and pinpoint that identical situation. For an example, I know Wells Fargo, they had to settle a large class action suit for the prepayment, something to do with prepayment. They did something different wrong in their legal documents and the mortgage paperwork. But it was identified, you did this one specific thing wrong.
Okay.
The problem with the robo-signing and these fake assignments and all, everybody has different levels of fraud. Some have a little bit of fraud and some have very big fraud. So you can't put them all in one basket and say, okay, we're going to do a class action suit. It's impossible. There's just no way. I mean, we literally have people that don't even know they're being sued by somebody that has no interest in their property. They don't have interest. We had 3 of them today we went through, where they literally list the plaintiff. The plaintiff has no rights whatsoever to that property. They had nothing to do with the property, but they're suing them in a foreclosure.
Well, how did that happen?
We don't know. We believe what is happening is that they're still selling these bad notes and mortgages. They're still selling them in the market, and they bundle them up.
You said we're ready for a resurgence now.
Yeah.
We're going to go back at it. We had this tsunami of foreclosures. What's going to happen now?
Well, here's what happened. As we all know, many property owners who have been paying their mortgages, correct, and they know they're upside down. The average home in the state of Florida is $70,000 upside down. What's happened now is Bank of America, now 13 banks, in fact, a total of 19 banks are going to follow suit, where once again the government bailed out the banks. Still can't figure out why that's happening. And they are going to reward them for giving principal reduction. But here's the problem. Principal reduction will only apply to those who actually became delinquent January 31st of this year. That's the only person who will qualify. So let's say Danny Ramos has been making his payment on time every single month. He never took the road, even though the banks told him to get help, you're going to have to go delinquent so you can be approved for these government programs. And you said, no, my credit's too important. This matters to me. I bought the house, because I hear this a lot. I took the debt. I knew what I was doing. And you see Bank of America giving 200,000 delinquent homeowners a principal reduction up to 150,000. How would you feel being a paid citizen and knowing...
Well, it really creates a conflict of interest for me. I mean, I'm the good guy and I'm getting run over by the bus.
You're getting trampled by the bus.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so appalling that people are not educating themselves to see this happening, and it is right under our nose. I think that this is going to be our tsunami. I believe that people are going to get very, very angry of this last decision for these 19. They announced 13, but now I've heard it will be a total of 19. We'll also drop these letters that families can get up to 150,000 principal reduction. So your next door neighbor who's been struggling, and he's upside down severely just as much as you are, but because he wasn't delinquent January 31st of this year, he does not qualify.
And is this a federal situation?
Well, interesting you asked that.
The law, which is it? It can't be state. It has to be federal because banking is federal.
Federal. I mean, you would think that there's some regulatory
Listen,
law.
I'm not a fan of the United States Congress, so it doesn't surprise me after what's happened, in the past 5 years in America.
And we actually have come to believe, and the more and more we see this, what people don't realize, most of these really, what they call bad paper, and what that means is they bundle them up. They put them in one big bundle, and they call it a series, a trust, a bond, whatever. And now Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have purchased these. Okay? What does that mean? Well, think about it. What can the government do when Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are involved? They can pretty much tell them what they're going to do or not do. We actually believe, I don't even want to come out and say it, but we actually believe that the government will be able to throw their weight around on eminent domain. And guess what? There is no foreclosure. They can take whatever they want.
Yeah.
We strongly believe, as a team, collectively, that this could be something very, very probable. Why is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac owning 85% of the bad mortgages out there. And guess who doesn't qualify for that principal reduction? Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, or FHA, or military. So why are these people excluded? Who knows?
So what are we looking at for the summer?
The summer is going to look really bad. What's happening is, you know, we had that kind of quiet time.
Yeah,
where it got quiet. There's a reason for that because of the marketing or the media hype and the you know, propaganda, as I call it. Now what's happened is they are going to push these really fast. So a lot of these people have been sitting there on the brink of getting sale dates, evictions. It's going to go fast the next 2 months. Fast. What is that going to do at our community? We've got kids that have become total victims of this. They are not going to have a home. People literally believe and feel that they have this time to try to work it out. They can go very quickly, especially if they haven't had representation. There's no one there to help them. So we are going to see a big mess during the summer.
Is it Florida mostly, or is this across the nation?
I believe it's across the United States. You've got a few organizations on the Food Network, for an example. They have recognized because of the foreclosures. You can go on their website. You can actually see the video where Jeff Bridges is the spokesperson for this new program. He believes that most of these children that are going hungry is because of the foreclosure mess that we're in. And he's actually right. He is right.
Well, I know that I was astounded that Harvest, which is food for homeless and for people who need food, just broke ground on a new $15 million facility just to serve food to people living in Orlando.
Yes, yes, and I was so happy to see that.
What the heck is going on?
Well, what's going on, and luckily, you know, we do have John Morgan, for an example, also contributed $2 million to this effort, and it's scary. I mean, I literally go downtown. That's where I'm based out of. And you will see, I mean, it could be my family. It could be your family walking with 2 little kids that are heading down to the coalition to go get something to eat. It's not that stereotypical anymore of somebody that's got a mental problem or somebody that's been in the military that's, you know, homeless. Forget it. We got to get that stereotype out of our brain. It is children that are suffering. My son is in Celebration. That's in Osceola County District. Celebration is the higher end of Osceola County. They had more children on school lunches that they were getting free lunches than they had ever done before. It increased by like 35–40%. Some kids were living in their cars. They didn't have a home. And these are Celebration children.
Yeah, I had a lady who became a chaplain, and she lost a home. She had a daughter. She didn't want to lose her daughter, so she kept it quiet. They were living in the car. She would take her daughter to a local store, gas station, where they would get ready for school by using the bathroom in the gas station, and then she would take her to school and then pick her up. So they were using, they were living in the backseat of the car. They were literally living in the backseat of the car.
And this is an epidemic. I literally call it an epidemic. I mean, we already had Seminole County that was featured.
What's wrong with the American public? I mean, what is going on? It's like the sheep to slaughter. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they have blinders on, if they just don't want to accept what's happening because we had it so good, you know, 5–6 years ago. I don't know.
I'm not bringing up a parallel because this is not a parallel, but the psychology may be the same. During World War II, you had people being let off, okay, while other people were not being let off because the people that weren't being let off said, well, it's not me. I have a job, no problem. It's happening to them.
Right.
And then it snowballed, and then it happened to everybody. And I'm thinking that I'm looking at the same kind of psychological disaster because we see the rise, and you know, Gloria Puerto is a co-host here, and she works with the homeless all the time. And then I ran into this guy, Martinez, who works with homeless vets that are rampant throughout the Orlando area. And the general public doesn't see it. It's like right underneath the surface of the water, there is quicksand, and they don't see it. So something really horrible is brewing.
I think what it is, it's misinformation. I mean, people literally believe because someone went delinquent on a mortgage that they're a deadbeat homeowner. What they need to understand is that when this first was conceptually started, the banks made people go into a delinquent status. We have to understand that and appreciate
And what
that.
banks were that?
All of them. Every single bank that
They recommended to people that they should go delinquent.
Recommended. You have to be a minimum of 60 days delinquent in order to get any help. What does that tell someone who just lost their job? Well, gosh, we're trying to eat, but they're telling us we need to go, we have to be delinquent. What are you going to do? Of course you're going to play by the rules because President Bush said it. You have to be 60 days delinquent on his pulpit. So, and then Obama did the same thing, and then he changed it midstream. And the bank still continued to tell people they had to be delinquent. Not recommended, you have to be delinquent. Sorry, we can't help you. So I get very, very frustrated that people need to understand, just because you weren't in that situation, and I always say, thank goodness you weren't. A lot of people have lost their jobs. There were really some sincere reasons that people lost their homes. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't something they intentionally want to do. If you talk to most of these people, they're just like us. They wanted to do the right thing, and pay their mortgage. They didn't want to be delinquent. They had no choice. They had no choice. And don't forget, the announcement of $460 million of taxpayers' money was being paid to banks. Why? Banks have billions of dollars.
And they're the ones that caused it.
I mean, so, what most Americans going to say, well, the only way to get help.
When they bundled the bad loans with the good loans and resold them and resold them, did anybody ever get prosecuted for that out of the big banks and corporations?
No one has been a fall guy. And let me give an example. This so-called whistleblower fund just irritates me to no end, because what it sends a message out to the American people and the younger generations, because they listen, they're on social networking, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're all over, so they see this stuff. Basically, what Obama did by giving the AGs all these millions of dollars per state for whistleblowers against executives. I'll give you an example. 2 employees, one being from Bank of America, one being from Countrywide, were just given a total of $24 million for whistleblowing on executives that were committing fraud. What does that tell my son? You know what, Grayson? It's okay. All you got to do, you can cheat, lie, steal. It's okay, because just a little slap on the hand. No, they should be arrested. They should be in jail for committing fraud. It's a felony. It's a federal offense.
Well, that's the big issue that I've always been concerned with. We have seen the biggest financial fraud in the history of this country.
History.
Trillions of dollars involved. People stole money. People falsified documents and contracts, and not one person has gone to jail. I mean, they did the Bernie Madoff thing, but that was one guy who committed his own isolated situation.
But they're no different.
Yeah, but these guys did it in collusion with each other. It was
collusion.
A mass scheme to defraud the citizens of America. I mean, this was a mass contrived, designed, and it wasn't an impulse. It was an impulse item. This thing was planned over time.
Absolutely. Because they know they have the power. They've got the money, so they know they have that power to back them up. They know that.
And what disappoints me is that no one in the United States Congress, not one congressman, has stood up and said, why hasn't no one gone to jail?
It's just like the judge. Well,
it almost broke the back of the American economy. People were running up and down in Washington.
I think I have an answer for that question. I don't think they'll admit to it, but it's all these judges. Their retirement, everything's tied into these banks. That is their future. They don't want to go up against the hand that feeds them, whatever that saying is. I mean, they literally do not want to lose their benefits.
Well, the lobbying thing is terrible too, because
of course.
All the lobbyists in Washington, let's say Bank of America, they have their lobbyists in Washington that make donations to political campaigns, that take guys out. And I'm not saying Bank of America, I'm saying all of them.
All of them.
All of them.
All of them have a vested interest.
So they literally buy the Congress. The Congress has been bought
for years.
For a long time. A long time.
I mean, the minute they started doing that, right? I mean, the minute they started allowing those contributions to become the political focus instead of really what people run for.
And then they created the PACs. Yeah. So now, although you have a limit that you can give a particular campaign, if you create a political PAC, that's a different story. You know,
It's
so
scary.
the country is no longer a nation of the people and by the people.
Yeah, the only thing I mean, me personally is, you know, in West Palm Beach, for an example, they're really trying to make a change. They did something very unique where they had a church get involved. They took this big parking lot, and because down in West Palm, believe it or not, Palm Beach County is one of the most affected areas of foreclosures. People think that Palm Beach County is the wealth.
Yeah.
You know, no, they were hit really hard. And basically, they came up with a very unique program offering free services for everybody, for children, military. They can talk to the Veterans Administration. They came there for free to help them. Trying to work with banks. They had some of the banks there, which I heard was kind of a joke. But they did provide services, you know, to find out where are these kids psychologically. Are they in school? Are they eating? What's going on? And it was very successful, and they're going to continue to do that. So, you know, I think if the communities come together and try to help each other. I mean, this is what it's about right now.
People come together when there's a common enemy. Unfortunately, they're weak at that point. They're not strong. So when okay, I have a need because I just got foreclosed on, I have no money, I have no lawyer. Okay, let me get together with somebody. But I don't have the psychological fortitude to fight a war. Yeah. So, you know, that's what I was saying. It's a parallel situation where, well, it happens to the other guy, but then soon it happens to you, and soon you know.
We will all be affected by this.
We're on a slight, really slippery slope as a country right now.
No, absolutely. And people don't, I mean, do you think about what this is going to cause in the future? The crime rates are up, suicides are up.
Listen, we had Ron Blocker here, superintendent of schools, and he was talking about the dropout rate. Well, this is only going to compound that, absolutely compound it. We're going back to the early 40s and 30s where you have kids rolling the streets, stealing stuff to eat.
Sure. I believe that. I do believe that. Yeah. I absolutely do.
People
so we will all be affected.
Boxes, people are living, I mean, I've been to homeless camps where people are living in tents. And I'm not talking about one person, I'm talking about a lot of people living in tents.
No, absolutely. I mean, luckily we do at that Seminole County, the one hotel owner that's actually opened up hotel rooms to people at a very, very affordable rate, you know, depending on how much they're making. I mean, thank goodness we have individual people at least trying to help.
That are concerned. You know? Well, listen, we're going to run out of time, but I want to welcome you as a co-host to the show every week. Thank you.
That's scary.
Okay, it is. But between me, you, and Jose, you know, we'll create some files. Again, the Hispanic Achievers license plate available in 360 DMVs. All the proceeds from this plate go to scholarship grants to needy students. So get your plate. It also celebrates the 500-year anniversary of Hispanics landing in the peninsula that Hispanics named Florida. That's a good educational piece for you. Second thing is, Hispanic Achievers is putting out this book, okay? We're a nonprofit organization and we're putting out this book, and this book is found in 170 7-Eleven stores throughout Central Florida. It's absolutely free, and this book will tell you how to hire a lawyer, what questions to ask about divorce, foreclosure, bankruptcy, and a lot more. And the book is absolutely free of charge, so pick it up in any 7-Eleven. Also, go to our website, www.hispanicachievers.org. This is Glenda Lolita Chauncey, who's going to be with us every week from now on. Also, Jose is not here tonight, but he'll be here next week, hopefully. He's not feeling well. We will see you next week at Bright House, Channel 49, same time, same place. We want to express our thanks for Bright House for having us here. Thank you very much.